He's the pastor who brought the crowd to its feet during the Nipsey Hussle Memorial at Staples Center.
I see Nipsey up there. I see Nipsey up there. I see Nipsey out there. When we leave here, we're taking Nipsey everywhere. And we'll all be able to say, all my life, praying all my life, sacrifice, hustle, pay the price, on the slice, gotta roll the dice, that's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life, look.
Hey, my name is Anthony Shep Crawford. I am the senior pastor of the Experienced Christian Ministries, aka ECM. I'm also the chairman of United We Stand Up. Born and raised right here in Los Angeles on the playgrounds where I spent most of my days.
But we're gonna talk about Shep first, because this is a dude that sat across from me, piano and organ, as kids growing up in South Central Los Angeles. But listen, I remember as kids, we would always say, one day, when you become a pastor, I'm gonna be a deacon at your church. Or one day, when you become a pastor, I'll be a deacon at your church. And you became a pastor first, Shep. So basically, I owe you some deaconship, homie. Simply because ECM has been a blessing to the world. It's been a blessing to us.
Today, I actually turned 52 years old. And I am a husband, father, and grandfather. So I grew up, I went to school in the 80s is what I remember. Of course, I was born in 1970, but the 80s is where I remember, right there on Gage and Broadway. What I remember is, that it's kind of like it is now without social media, of course. It was something that you had to be careful in the streets. That's something that we knew very early in our childhood in Los Angeles. Well, before I started pastoring, I was deeply into the music industry. I am a Grammy Award-winning songwriter and producer. I produced and co-wrote a song called Nobody's Supposed to Be Here by Deborah Cox, which was for 14 weeks in a row. Number one, it broke the record. I also produced and co-wrote a song called Incomplete by Cisco. Let me see, We Can't Be Friends, Deborah Cox RL, Luther Vandross, I'd Rather, Tamia, Stranger in My House. Those are probably my biggest songs. And so I'm semi-retired now. I still do a little music here and there, but my main focus is ministry. So when God called me to pastor, one of the things I wanted to do is reach out to people who felt disconnected from God, or felt like because of what they were doing that God wasn't checking for them. And so those people became my aim and my focus. And I would say that's pretty much how I got into being community driven. In 2019, I got the call to eulogize Nipsey, and you know how beloved Nipsey is in LA. I didn't know Nipsey. I never met him before, never met his brother before, but a few of his homies and his family had been to the church. And so when I spoke to the brother, he thought that I would be the perfect person to bridge the two worlds. And so after eulogizing Nipsey, I think God did that to expand, to help me expand his territory. And not only was I able to operate right there in the district or the area that I was in, but I was able to have a wider reach, and I literally started hooking up with a lot of peacemakers, and it really pushed me into what I want to say is healing for the community.
You and I, as spiritual men, can be examples to the streets. I say because you and I would have no right telling Bloods and Crips to stop gangbanging on the level that they do it. And then the clergy, we gangbang on the highest levels. When I spoke and brought Dr. Shepard up, and Dr. Shepard spoke, and one of the gang said, wow, I ain't never seen this before. And we said, what, brother? Normally, the Muslims are saying the Christians ain't this, and the Christians are saying that the Muslims ain't nothing. But to see you two come together and y'all ain't no phony dudes, we appreciate that.
So I work as president of United We Stand Up. Of course, I am working, every day with clergy who are very concerned as much as I am. And one of them is your own Joe Paul. That is my guy. So one of the things that we have to do, one of the things that I do is I pull up on these particular hoods. I pull up on them, spend time with them. If they're out at the park and they're chilling, I'm at the park with them chilling. If they're at somebody's house, somebody's crib chilling, I'll walk in there and chill with them. I'm not tripping the fact that they're drinking. I'm not tripping the fact that they're smoking. I'm not even tripping the fact that they're cussing. I'm going to be there for about 15, 20 minutes and kind of hang out with them and let the conversation get deeper and continue to build that relationship, not waiting for them to call me, but for them to see me all the time. And then God will make something happen in their lives where they really need to reach out on a more serious or spiritual tip. And I think God strategically places me in those situations. So I brought them in. I brought Bloods and Crips in. Instead of me preaching, I asked them to come on the stage with me, and we had a conversation. And from then on, my church started seeing them as their nephews, started seeing them as strong black kings who just needed to adjust their crown. And so it helped de-shell both the opinion that the church have on what is considered gang culture, and also the opinion what gang culture has on the church. And I think that if we could do that on a broader scale, we can make a difference. What does it mean to be fortified? I mean, it is an honor to even be recognized to be fortified, to be endorsed, to be built for this work. It is, you're talking to, a man who grew up in South Central, with my mom and my dad being divorced, but still both being in my life. Dropped out of high school, never ever thought that the day will come that I would be one of the pillars of the community, really helping heal. And then being recognized by someone who I have esteemed forever as a Christian, as a clergy, and the talks that I've had with Bishop Jones. And when I remember seeing him last year, and I think he caught wind of what I was doing. When I saw him, he was like, "Shep, you're doing the work. You're doing the work." And to be able to listen to, his expertise and how he biblically explains what's going on now is how Jesus moved. It means a lot to me. I'm very, very honored to receive this Fortified award and to even be considered. That word itself, I would say the biggest thing that come to me is endorsed and built for this. And I'm just so glad that God chose me. And I will do it until he tells me not to.
He is a person of integrity. You won't find a more integral person. He is connected to the issues. He's connected to the people, and he's willing to go all the way down to wherever to make sure nobody gets left behind. He has dedicated his life's mission to work on social justice and equality and salvation. And for that reason, he has my vote for this very impactful award, the Fortified Award. So from me to you, baby, congratulations.
Brother Anthony Shep Crawford, come with your family and let me very quickly. And I would love for the minister Tony Muhammad to come and stand with us. I had the privilege of stopping by on a Wednesday night, and I went to Pastor, you may be seated. I went to Pastor Crawford's church on a Wednesday night, and the OGs and the young G's were assembled in the house.
And it was quite interesting to hear them interacting with each other. And somehow, Pastor Crawford has adjudicated the case between the OGs and the young Gs and has worked feverishly and untiringly to stem the tide of violence in our neighborhoods. We asked ourselves the question, where was the clergy when Black Lives Matter took over the whole social justice and operated in the space where clergy used to operate? And I discovered that we became entrenched in Egypt, and we enjoyed being called the son of Pharaoh's daughter to the point where we no longer want to suffer reproach with the people of God. And that's why the people that we ostracize, decompartmentalize, criticize, demonize, any more eyes? They're the ones who are leading the charge, because we've got caught up in our own hype, and we've become so significant in our own eyes that we don't dirty our hands anymore to get in the streets where it matters, while our boys, our brilliant boys and girls, our genius boys and girls, our strong boys and girls have turned on each other in the street, and we're locked. There are no windows to the outside in the city of Refuge. You can't look outside, which means this is quite a sanctuary. But the problem is not in here. The problem is out there. And we need soldiers like Pastor Shep Crawford and his wife and family to do the work. Come on, give God a praise. Pastor Crawford.
Thank you. Thank you. Just real quick, because I definitely want to hear the word from Bishop this morning. I just want to thank Bishop Jones, Lady Loretta, to the city of Refuge for having us here this morning and for giving us this award. Of course, I got to shout out my wife, Dr. Shalonda Crawford, 4 of 6 of our children, and of course, Joe Paul, who's not here this morning, and my friend and brother, Minister Abdul Malik Muhammad, for just riding with me. And I just, first of all, before I go any further, I have to shout out my church, the Experienced Christian Ministries, AKA EC. You already know. You already know. And I just want to say that, in this work as a pastor is finding that balance. And I've been trying to find that balance of making sure that I'm a pastor to our church and making sure that I'm also there available for the community. And I remember telling Bishop Jones that God clearly told me sometime this year to make sure that I make the 2 one. And I remember him saying, Shep, the 1 should have never been 2. He always has a way to just bring it all around. You can tell Bishop, you can say, the early bird catches the worm. And he says, that's good for the bird. But that's not good advice for the worm, because if the worm had not got, so you know how he does. And I just appreciate him and his knowledge and his perspective. And I just want to say this. When I was a kid, I used to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I love that story. And younger, I thought that it was just so special how they didn't really like him at the beginning and they loved him at the end. But grown, I realized the biggest part of that story is the line that says, one foggy Christmas Eve. And I want to talk to anyone who has been hurt and been going through it, and you've been trying to figure out how God is going to use you. You don't have to look for it. It's going to find you. One foggy Christmas Eve, you're going to be able to take your hurt and it's going to shine bright like a diamond. And so I want to say to everyone, y'all make sure y'all stay with it. ECM, City of Refuge, and we'll all go down in his story. God bless you as we love you.
Fortified Award presented to Anthony Shep Crawford for your resilience through life challenges and now making life better for your family and others.